Take a million. Hey everyone, welcome back to Unpack That. And today's topic is pretty broad, but I think it can fit anybody who's listening, and that's dating. Yes, the ups and downs, all the in-betweens. And the first thing that we're going to unpack about dating, of course, the big one, red flags. And that's the thing. Red flags aren't always super loud, in your face, annoying like things. Sometimes they're really subtle, and it makes you question, like, is this something that's really bothering me? Or maybe it doesn't sit right with me. If it doesn't sit right with you, it probably means it's not right. And don't get me wrong, there are some people that know exactly what they're looking for, and they're like, this is a red flag. No, I'm leaving. I'm not even entertaining this idea. And that's great if you know yourself really well, especially if you know your values and what you need in a partner. But also, don't jump the gun too quickly. And what I mean by that is, yes, if you know all that about yourself, great. But not every relationship and every person is perfect. And also, it doesn't mean that they can't grow. Unless it's like a super, super red flag, then yes. But if you're on the iffy side, and maybe if you jump the gun too quickly, I want you to think, okay, maybe this is an orange flag. And if you're watching on YouTube or anything, I'm waving an orange flag in my hand. And what I like to say what an orange flag is, at least to me, how I use it is, okay, I have this feeling or this matters to me. I'm going to bring it up to the person I'm dating, courting, just seeing how things can go. And I want to see how they respond. Do they take me seriously? Do they hear me? Do they even try to work on it or fix it? And that really shows a lot, because I feel like maybe in the first episode we also talked about respect. And so I'm not saying like an orange flag can be perfect or it can be awful, but it's also in the middle. So it can be fixable, but also can go kind of wrong. And then you'll be able to see, okay, this shows a lot what I need. But there's also the deep red flags. And of course, the biggest red flag of all, the one I see couples with the most, and or ones friends bring up to me or other colleagues tell me about. And the thing is, this one is a big one. But I also want you to remember there's a lot of things that stem from this one specifically. And that's lack of communication. Yes, such a good one. And that's if you bring something up to your partner and they flip it, or they don't take you seriously, or if they make you feel crazy, that's not healthy. What I want you to picture is if you did that with your partner. And I want you to imagine, okay, I don't like something, or this bugged me, or we got in a fight. I want you to imagine that. Take a few seconds. And now I'm going to tell you what a healthy foundation in relationship looks like compared to one where it's not like that. So in the healthy one, in a strong foundation, if you bring something up to your partner and you're like, hey, this really upset me, whether it's about yourself or something you want to work on specifically, or something in your partner, or something in the relationship in general. And if they can't sit with you and hear you and validate you of what you're feeling, then that's not good. And I'm not saying it's not healthy, but that's not good that they can't validate your feelings. And when I mean by validate, I don't mean lying, because I would never want a partner to lie, or a relationship, friendship, anything, for anyone to lie. But I always tell my couples too, is like, okay, they can be having this feeling, but that doesn't mean you have to invalidate their feelings. And so a response doesn't have to specifically be this type of response. But a healthy one could be like, I hear you, I understand. I did not know I caused that. I don't personally feel that way, but I will understand and try to think about it more to get to how I hurt you or how this caused you to be this upset. Because it might take them some time, and that's totally okay if they don't get it right away. But that's more validating and more understanding and hearing you compared to a non-strong foundation, which would turn into a cycle actually. And that cycle would be example 2 of a non-healthy, non-strong foundation. You bring something up to your partner, and then your partner deflects, dismisses, or makes you feel crazy. And then that makes you upset that you even brought it up because you're like, oh my gosh, well now I feel stupid. Or, oh my gosh, now maybe I'm the crazy one. And then maybe you feel a little guilty. So now your mind is racing about all these things. And then your partner's like, might be upset or mad or frustrated. And then nothing gets fixed or solved or worked out because both of you are at this heightened emotion and you're both at a 10. And you're like, oh my gosh, wait, this isn't working. And I want you to sit with that and see like, okay, can I do that for the next 20 years? Or can I even do that the next fight? Because that's the thing. Being vulnerable is kind of hard if you haven't ever been in a strong foundational relationship before. And so that might be a whole new territory. So it might be harder to express your feelings. And your partner should be able to understand that if you're in that situation. But also they should still, whether it is hard for you or not, be understanding and validating. But that's the other thing too I want to point out is red flags don't just stay red flags. They become a pattern and they get heavier. And then it turns into deeper wounds. And often flags that show up with poor communication that I've stated is lack of empathy, defensiveness, and dismissiveness. And if they can't hold space for your feelings, that's not just frustrating, that's invalidating, and you deserve better than that. And one more thing that I would say I die on a hill for, because it is really important, and I can say it twice again if needed, is you are not responsible for your partner's happiness. I will repeat it. You are not responsible for your partner's happiness. They are their own person. And I think I will die on that hill because I felt like that in a previous relationship. It's not your job to regulate someone else's emotions or carry the full weight of their emotional needs. In a relationship, it should be a partnership where you grow together. If someone can't handle their feelings, how are they going to support yours? How are they going to be there for you when you need someone to hold your hand or go through a tough time or anything in between, whether it be severe or little? You can be upset that, I don't even know, you can be upset that someone honked at you. And I get upset by that. And I would want my partner to be like, oh my gosh, that's so upsetting. And they just hear me rant about that. But if they can't do that for you, then how are they going to do that for serious things also? When you take on that responsibility for your partner's happiness, you start to spiral. If they're not okay, then you're not okay. And then you feel like you're failing and because you have to make them happy and you have to make yourself happy. And now you're overwhelmed and anxious and you're like, oh my gosh, nothing's going right. And that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help your mental health. It doesn't help their mental health, and no one's growing in the relationship. So if you see a red flag, don't isolate it. Ask yourself, does this connect to something deeper? Most of the time it does. And most importantly, how does it make you feel? That's the biggest clue of all. And that kind of goes well into our next segment about how you can still want more, but still be grateful. And let's unpack that. There's this narrative kind of floating around in relationships where if you have a perfect partner, then you shouldn't want more and you're being greedy and like all this stuff. But in reality, it can be both. You can have a great partner, but still kind of need and want a bit more. There's this narrative floating around, especially in relationships, because this could be friendships also, but I'm mainly focusing relationships, is that if you have a great partner, then you're wanting more, then you're being greedy, or that you're being XYZ. But in reality, it can be both. You can still love your partner, but there could also be something that maybe you just need in the relationship to make it a bit better. And that's not being ungrateful. Kind of stating before in the last segment about a healthy foundation, strong relationship conversation. It goes back to this as well. You should feel safe to go up and bring anything to your partner and feeling like they hear you and they understand and they see you. Because if you're scared of their reaction, then again, you have to sit back and think, okay, why am I afraid to bring something up? Or why does this kind of scare me to bring this up? So it's more sitting with yourself with that. Because the thing is, if your partner's incredible, they can hit all the check marks of bang, bam, boom. But the thing is, they can still frustrate you. Because, like, again, nobody's perfect. They can leave the dishes in the sink. They could leave their socks everywhere. They could, like, do anything that kind of, like, annoys you. But that doesn't erase all the positive and good things that you have in the relationship or the qualities that you've always loved and enjoyed about them. But it also doesn't mean you have to ignore it. You do have to ignore all those things just to stay grateful. And that's how it goes back also to what we talked about of the difference between a red flag and a pet peeve. Because leaving socks out and dishes in the sink and all these things are definitely more of a pet peeve thing. And also, again, in a healthy relationship and a healthy foundation, if you bring that up to your partner, like, oh my gosh, stop leaving your socks out, then they'll be like, oh, okay. And then they'll just do it. They'll just fix it because they will understand like, oh, this bothers them. I can change it. Or maybe it takes a few times because, habits are hard to break. And that's the thing about a strong relationship. You can just say like, hey, I love you. I love us. But leaving the socks out, it bothers me. And that's all it takes. Usually. Now, sometimes maybe there's a little bickering or whatever. But that's with any relationship. It shouldn't go to the extreme. Then if it does, then that's another issue. But also, in this situation, it really shouldn't go to the extreme. Again, that's not toxic. That's just being honest with your partner. You're not being too much or difficult or being crazy for just little pet peeves that you have. Just because you want something to shift or just improve a little bit, it's okay to ask for more as long as you're also recognizing what's already working. So just remember, being grateful doesn't mean you have to settle. It also means you can say what you want while you're still making space for growth. Okay. Now this one's for everybody who's single or exhausted by dating or even on the fence about dating. This segment is for you because it's all about dating yourself first and being happy about it and being content with that. And here's the thing, you can actually be totally okay with being single. And yeah, you can enjoy it. So let's unpack it. The thing is, society pushes out this timeline of getting married at 23, having a house at 25, having a kid before 30. And that's perfectly fine if that's your life. And that if it's working for you, amazing. But also, I'm just saying in a societal way of when you're like 8 or 12, especially as speaking for a woman myself, like as a little girl, I did think these things and that is not what my life is and that's okay. And the weird part is I don't know if specifically this also affects men, so that'd be great if I heard a man's opinion about that because I can only speak for how I felt growing up, is when I didn't hit that timeline, specifically like I don't have a kid right now, but I am married, is okay, this is weird because like I'm not fitting this mold of what I thought my life would be. And that's okay. And I don't want people to feel guilty or feel weird that they're not fitting this timeline because that's just life and that is okay if that is not your life. And the thing too is like, I don't want you to feel like, okay, I need to date someone, get married quickly, or have a long-term partner. Because what if you don't really like that person? Or what if you're dating too fast or XYZ of all these things just to fit the mold? Because then you're not really happy. And then if you're rushing into it just just for society, family, or just because you're feeling like you're getting too old or anything, then it just is a recipe for resentment. Like flat out. Resenting family, society, friends, yourself, your partner, like nothing. Your potential partner, I should say, nothing. Taking time to reconnect with yourself, whether it's after a breakup or a long dry spell, it's not weird. It's kind of wise. You might even surprise yourself with what you learn about yourself. You might have new dreams, new hobbies, even new boundaries, because it's stuff you didn't even realize until you gave yourself time and permission to explore that. And let's be honest, there's nothing wrong with being alone for a little bit. I'm not saying it's always bad to go from one relationship to another, like back to back. But I do think it is something to sit and pause with of why do I have to keep being in a relationship? And I'm not saying like you're a bad person if you do this at all. But I do want you to sit and think of why can't I be alone? What is this relationship giving me that I'm not giving myself? And am I just craving company? Because everyone's in a different time frame in their life. So, of course, people in college, especially I would say college, like jump around and whatnot. But if you do that for like 10 years, that's a whole different story. And so I really want you to just sit and pause and think like, okay, what do I really need in this? Like, what do I really need? What do I really want? And is this healthy that I'm kind of jumping around? I'm not judging if you do, but I just want you to sit with it. Because listen, the reason why I say that is because, one, if you're just doing that to not be bored or lonely, you deserve better. And also, that's not partnership, that's settling. And I want everybody, if they want to date or marry or whatever, to be happy with the person they end up with, or that they want to have a long-term relationship with, or whatever they want to do with that person, but I want them to still enjoy themselves. And that's the thing too, like, of course we know that cliche saying of you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. But I kind of want to flip it a bit of you have to be happy with yourself before you can be happy with someone else. When you know who you are and what you need versus what you just like, that's powerful. And those three things, want, like, and need, are all different. Because what you want in a relationship, what you like in your partner or relationship, and what you need in a relationship or partner, game changers. So they're all different. And when you spend time with yourself, you spot that quickly. You're like, oh, I like this about this person, but I want this and I need this to stay like in the relationship. And also, let's just normalize being single without shame. If someone makes you feel bad that you're single for being behind in this so-called timeline, it's really interesting too, because who came up with this timeline? I'm not sure. I think maybe if you saw your parents do it or your grandparents do it or other friends, maybe, because you might be feeling behind. But if they're making you feel behind for not being in a relationship, that's more about them than it is you. And there's no medal for who gets married the fastest. And that says a lot too, because the divorce rate is also 50%. So that says a lot too of what is causing the 50%. Also, real talk, people that rush into this to fit a mold or fit societal norms, those can be the reasons why maybe it leads to the 50% of divorces. Not saying the whole 50%, but maybe like 1%. Or also just long-term messy situationships, relationships, I would like to say. And I'm not saying maybe that's not for everybody. Maybe some people do. I mean, there's that show, Married at First Sight. Sometimes it lasts for people and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes people have a situation where they knew their partner for 3 months and now they're married for like 30 years. But sadly, I feel like they're very rare. So if you're just rushing to do stuff, I hope maybe you're the rare one. But if you're not, it could end up kind of messy. Because building a relationship, a healthy one with a solid foundation, with two people who really know themselves well, that's going to be a long-lasting relationship. Relationship, marriage, whatever you want it to be. In building a relationship, it takes time. It takes two people who know themselves really well, what they want, what they need, what they like. And it also is patience. There's so many things, but knowing yourself is like the key thing in a relationship when you're first starting out. So yeah, date yourself first. Take yourself out on a date. Try new things. Learn what makes you laugh and what makes you happy when no one's around. And the great part is you'll carry that self-knowledge and self-love into every connection and relationship that you have or situation that you have. So yeah, date yourself first, take yourself out, make yourself laugh, and you'll learn all these new things about yourself, whether it be hobbies or adventures or all these things. It's going to be great because everything you learned about yourself, all that self-knowledge and self-love will go into every connection here on out. Plus, why not? It's so nice just to be by yourself for a little bit. And that's how I like to end the segments for today and wrap up the episode. I hope something at least resonated with you where you're like, I see this in a friend, or I see this in myself, or maybe it was just fun listening to, and I hope it was. And I also really enjoyed it myself, so I'm glad that you stuck around. And for the last bit, as always, what's in my bag? So what's in my bag for this week is it is Mental Health Month. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month, everybody. I think it's so important, and I'll always say this again and again, to be kind to yourself and to other people. And also just checking in on your friends and people you care about, because I also feel like it's so, I don't know if I would say taboo, but it's hard to like express feelings to people, especially if you're not feeling well, like if you're feeling kind of low. So check in on your people, and make sure you're also checking in with yourself and giving yourself grace. And if you're not feeling great or a little bit down, tell your community, tell your village, tell your people, because they'll support you and help you. And don't think that it's weak to ask for help. It's actually really brave, and it gives you more strength to do that, because your mental health matters and you matter. And so that is what's in my bag for this week. Let me know what's in yours, and I hope to see you for the next one.